Welcome to Critical Café,
Join us as we chat about the latest episode,
the campaign as a whole, and Critical Role in general.
all while we partake in a delicious cup of coffee. So grab yourself a tasty beverage
Settle into your favorite cozy spot.
and get ready for a little geek philosophy. Welcome to the Critical Cafe. We are glad to have you. We talk all things Critical Role, if you didn't already know that. My name's Brian, and this is Crystal.
Hi.
And we're going to jump right in. We usually kick off with a little bit of preface saying that we are, a long time in between watching, but we haven't been doing that the last couple weeks. We've been on target and on track with everything. So this is great. So I'm going to jump over to the critical recap, and we'll jump right into looking at what Danny Carr and everybody over at Critical Role has put together as far as their notes, and we'll use that to guide our discussion and make sure that we're not missing anything. If, by chance, you want to join and get a delicious drink for yourself, go ahead and do that if you haven't already. And if you're looking for a cup, you can check our store and pick up one of the Critical Cafe mugs. But let's head on over and take a look, shall we? All right, so for the critical recap, we are right now on episode 49 of Campaign 3. And lots of stuff happening for this episode.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, it's acting up for me. Let me try one more time. Our live show. There we go. Okay. So to start the show off right, they're kind of back on their skyship, the Silver Sun, and they're heading to go to the Tishtan excavation site. And they notice this faint energy in the sky. For a while, it was like sort of making me think of Aurora Borealis type feels, but it is actually the ley lines. And so Chetney remembers seeing something similar in Wildmount a long time ago. They discuss some people that they may want to contact for aid while they're traveling. Ashton, says, hey, what about Jana Hexam and the Nobodies? Maybe they could also speak to Ira. There's a bunch of people that they're kind of thinking they need to be able to talk to. They've got a lot of options here between the Dorolos and Dorian and Imahara Joe and, all these things. Although we'll come back to that whole Imahara Joe for the bomb thing in a sec, because it ties back to something we talked about a little bit last show. And then they also thought maybe Imogen's mother could be their inside man, so to speak, or inside woman. So there's a conversation there about, maybe they're being spied on as well. And so Imogen is opening her mind, and she's hearing this constant white noise from the Aurora, but she doesn't get any feel for someone looking in on them. They contact Ira and see if he's interested in destroying the Malleus Key with them, which was a little bit of a twist for me, but we'll get to that too. He's interested in, and they find him with the Callaways. So FCG contacts Imahara Joe about making the bomb, which the Callaways will pick up. FCG then reaches out to Milo about the Nobodies, and Milo just laughs. They have no idea where the other Nobodies are. Finally, Imogen messages the Ebenold Kai of the Grim Verity, letting him know that they destroyed the Fey Key, and Ebenold and Dr. Vestashow are stuck in the plane of fire without Plane Rider Rin. We know from the last show that she has been turned to stone, and they don't know what's going on in the Shadowfell yet. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Bell's Hells are looking more and more like they might be the only line of defense for what's going on. Chetney has an idea of crashing their skyship into the key itself if they need to. They could even have a ground team and get Imogen's mom. So there's a lot of discussion and talking back and forth. So let's just pause there for a sec and head over to the chat so we can start with that chunk of information and and let's see what you think. So I'm going to check the chat. Crystal, why don't you give me your thoughts while I'm doing that?
Okay. First thoughts are, they're really grasping for any tie to anyone that could possibly help. I mean, Bell's Hells knows, they know they're not strong enough to potentially halt this like world ending or, God ending Predathos and Ludinus Deleth, especially since, hello, we found out he's at least been around since the Calamities. So he's probably super all knowing and powerful at this point. His network of spies and people he's got in place, there's no telling how wide and deep that goes. So they're really scrambling, and you can kind of tell with the people that they try to reach out to. They reached out to the Nightmare King, who last we checked, they weren't really
not on great terms.
On good terms with?
Yeah.
But I kind of get the feeling that he is just chaos, and he is swayed whichever way messes things up the most sometimes, I think.
I think it's the connection between him and Fern's grandma that made them think, oh, maybe there's something there that we could work with. And also that whole the enemy of my enemy thing. Maybe that's a way for them to connect. But yeah, you're right. It threw me for a loop, just them thinking they could go there. But hey,
I mean, I think I even said in the moment, I was like, that's weird, but all he could say is no. Right. I mean, what do you, you really, it's like the scene in at the end of the Avengers when they're fighting, and then all of a sudden everybody bamps in, it's like you only got like 7 people, 10 people, whatever. And then it's like the music kicks on and then all these people start morphing in from everywhere. I got this like image in my mind that we're hoping that this is what's going to happen, right? Like not the like still the 5 people.
I don't want to go too deep into this now because there's so much stuff we got to talk about. We'll get out of order, but I have thoughts about how that's going to work. Let me just check real quick. Oh, hey. So we've got William in the chat. Hello there, William. Good to see you. Welcome to the cafe. And if you have any questions or comments yourself, feel free to plop them in the chat. And if we can, we will bring them in and we'll talk about it. So let's bring, as I speak, here comes one. I think Ira wants to use the device when he does have the crown. Yeah. I think that is sort of the ulterior motive that he may be trying to go with. I also don't know. There was an insight check that Ashley rolled a little bit later to see when she mentioned Predathos or mentioned things like, and it was whispers. Like Matt had to walk over. So I don't really know how much he understands. How much was he sort of just a pawn to them and putting things together? It's really interesting to me to see how that's that's going to go. But
and then of course the nobodies, nobody knows anything about the nobodies. Nope. They don't know where they're at. They can't, and how are they going to get there? That's the other thing. How in this time frame is anyone going to get there and able to help in order to help? And then we've got all of the Whitestone crew that could possibly help, but at this point I don't think they've really reached out yet to any of them.
Some stuff that happens later, but for right now I don't think there's too much. But okay, so what I was going to say,
and then Dorian
earlier, well, Dorian too, that was good that there was at least that there's a sort of connection there that they're checking back and forth. But the thing that I thought was really interesting is, remember we talked about last show that FCG is sort of riding this line of maybe being like the self-sacrifice play. And I think we even talked about him making himself into a bomb and blowing things up.
Yes.
And sure enough, that's exactly, I'm not saying we just predicted everything. I think it was logical for him to go there. But the fact that like they talked about that power core, so to speak, being something that could do that, even though I know that what they're really trying to do, or what they end up wanting to do, was have Imahara Joe build something else, the fact that his initial thought was, I'll just go in there and blow up. Again, it lets here's something going on with him and how things are shaken out with his mindset. So I don't know. It's interesting to me.
And with that, do you think that that is playing to, like, that's how Sam envisioned FCG, or do you think Sam is tired of playing FCG and wants to play another character and
It's
just
a good
thinks it's
question.
kind of a cool way to, to go out on a, like, a Die Hard moment or something?
I don't think it's so much that like he actually. I think he'll do it if it comes to it, but I think it's more along the lines of like as he's playing the character's evolving, and it's what FCG would say and offer to do at this moment. Like I don't know if it's necessarily Sam's not happy with the character and wants way out. To
Yeah.
me, at least, I could be wrong. But I think it's more like this is just how FCG is evolving.
Or maybe not happy
Um,
with the character isn't the right term, but just,
just yeah, ready for something
wants
else.
to
Yeah,
branch out. Yeah.
that's
I don't
possible.
know.
I yeah, and we'll see. Let's dive in a little bit more to see because there's so many things that are kind of connected here.
Yeah.
Um, to what's going on. So okay, so we've got the signals are sending out some information. Um, and let me start this. I'm going to come back to it, William. That's a great point. Um, and I'll pull that back in once we get to there. So okay, send out the signals. Good, bad, something in between. All right. So before bed, Orem does that message to Dorian, lets him know that basically everything's going to happen within a week or so. Dorian is in Tal'Dorei with the other Crown Keepers, but Opal's getting dark. He doesn't know how to get to them. Opal is now the champion of the Spider Queen, which worries everybody. And for now, though, Imogen wants to see her mother. And FCG cast a shared dream on Imogen, Orem, and Fern. And then Imogen finds her mother in the swirling clouds of the Red Storm. This is what's really interesting to me. She tells her that they're coming and asks if she knows what's wrong. Um, but there's this whole like her mom thinks that she misunderstands what's going on, and she thinks that everything will be better if this happens. And she touches her forehead and shows her the lattice pulling apart, and then Imogen feels this sense of freedom and like possibility, and all of this stuff is going to be new, and they're not going to be tied down with fate. Really interesting. Then Orem, Fern, and FCG heard that speech, but they didn't see the vision that was in Imogen's head while all those things were said. Orem wishes that his family didn't have to die for Liliana's brighter tomorrow, and I think that was what really snapped Imogen back for a second, because as they're talking about it, she's like, well, maybe it wouldn't be all bad. And I think he makes that comment and it snaps the conversation back. um, so it's really interesting. FCG flips the coin, by the way. We talked about this a lot last time
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And not the greatest answer from the Changebringer about are you evil, or it's very very interesting. Ashton doesn't think it matters what the Ruby Vanguard wants. They're doing it wrong anyway. If they had a great idea what the world should be, they tell people. Instead, they're killing people. It's easy to make a nice world if you kill who you disagree with. Yeah, which is like one of the real. Sometimes Ashton has a poignant thing to say, and this is one of those things. So let's jump back over the chat. There's a few things that popped in the chat room, so let's bring them up. So FCG can't find a path and wants to be useful. I totally agree with that. I think they are struggling to figure out like who they are as a character in relationship to thing. Crystal, you talked about this last time too, like
Yeah.
about how FCG is real
I
struggling
think
with this.
I almost think that it would have been easier for him if he had been told he did not have a soul, because the minute he got
Yeah,
told that he did, it's like he has been floundering thinking he has to have a purpose. He has to know it today. And like it's going to hit him
yeah,
in the face at any moment. And it's like he's pushing it. He's pushing it so hard to try to
yeah.
make it happen that I think he's definitely working it like overtime, and then trying to grasp at any single thing he can do and make that his purpose. So
Yeah, totally. And I think that it's telling how much he doesn't understand how it works, and like how people are saying that. Even I think later someone says, do we know any clerics? Do we know any holy people? He's like, me.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he never, it's weird because like, I think he never presented himself as this holy person. It was more of the motivational speaker person. And now
Right.
he's
Well,
trying
because
to
he wasn't
transition
holy,
into
and now
this.
he's like
Right.
become a zealot almost, you know?
Yeah. Yep. He's
So
got a soul now,
that's
like you said.
tough.
So yeah, really interesting. And what am I
Yeah.
getting? Oh, it was a good burn. I think he's referring to like when Liam
Liam
or
said,
Orm says, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
I hope my
more than
family
just a
didn't have
good
to
burn, I
die for
would
your
say.
brighter future.
Yeah, yeah, like it just snapped everybody back to
Yeah.
like reality a little bit. So
Well, and
yeah,
that's
good
and that's
call.
the truth. Like
Yeah,
okay, your mother showed you this vision. First and foremost, where did she get it from? And this is something you were reading through this, and all of a sudden I had this like moment. You might have seen it on my face because I was like, oh, I had a thought.
yeah,
You know, lewdness has been around for forever. We touched on this in our last video where we talked about him and him and S. Oh gosh, what's the Caleb's
Essek,
boyfriend?
Essek.
Essek. How him
Yeah,
and Essek were exchanging Luxons and
yes,
about the dudamancy. What if this vision is something that Ludinus has been able to come up with as a possibility that
yep,
stemmed out of the like probability matrix with the dudamancy magic
yes.
to
That's
get
such a great
people
thought. Yeah,
on his side, you know, like he's using it's like any kind of, you know, holy book or thing that somebody wants to take. You can twist it and turn it
yes.
however you want to create your cult of people, you know?
Well, it's
Um and so
and
I just had that moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if this is this vision. How did she get a vision
totally.
of the how does she even have a clue?"
Yeah, and
Right?
so totally, and William brings up a great point. Trent as well. Trent Ickathon was also involved with that, right? Like he was
Yes.
that
Yeah.
person that Ludinus had to work with, but didn't really want to work with, but was at
Right.
the time. Something else popped in my brain that brings a little bit more of a connection to all that. Um, he was also part of the Cerberus Assembly, which who also was, we talked about this in our theory video, Delilah was also the
Yeah.
head of the piece of the Cerberus. How much does she know about that? Like if they knew
Yeah.
that, like if they were involved and had some of the same arcane lore that they were able to reach out and understand, maybe this is why she's really hitching a ride as long as she has with
Right.
Laudna, because
And
she's
you
part of this whole thing.
know,
She
yeah.
must have known Ludinus.
Yeah. Yeah, of course she did. He's been around for forever.
Yeah.
His name might not be might like we said last, you know, episode, his name might not be the same exact thing. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
well,
if
at
he's
least
been
as far
around that
back
long
for
and he's
hundreds of
been
years he's been
someone
going by
who's been
this,
in
right? So,
power, then
yep.
she has to know him. Then on top of it, we've got to also know that between last season and this season, Veth's husband and all the work he was doing,
Oh yeah.
experimenting, and how they kidnapped him and they did all this stuff, like those experiments never stopped. They just found somebody else to do them. So all that gray matter that Odahan has in her tank and all this gray viscous stuff that they're finding everywhere, this is all dudamancy
Yeah.
and it's probability. And
Also
that's
stuck in
exactly
Ashton's
how
head.
this, right. And that's exactly how you can see all these probable outcomes.
Yeah. I think all of you're it's such a really great point. Like the idea of fate and chance and probability, dunamancy is all tied up into that. A lot of the stuff that was going on in campaign 2, what was shoved into Ashton's brain, like all this stuff is very much related, and it makes you wonder if that is possibly what Prodathos is also tied to. If like maybe that's what they're trying to unleash. I don't know. Ultimate possibility, like maybe he's somehow tied to this dudamancy force.
Well, I mean, isn't the opposite of fate like possibility?
Yeah, right. Like choice, right? Multiple possibility,
Yeah,
choice,
multiple
free
paths.
will, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really interesting. And yeah, you're right. William says, I feel like Trent was holding Ludinus on a tight leash. He was, I think. It had to use him for his own means, but definitely didn't like working with him. I think you're absolutely right. All right, so let's push forward a little bit more and see what we got. Sorry, my screen share. Let's try again. Boom, boom, boom.
It likes to be funny.
It does.
It just wants us to see pictures of beautiful
It,
people.
it does. It wants to just make sure that we don't
We know
miss.
who everyone is.
Mm-hmm. Technical This is a live show, everybody. This is what happens. There we go. Okay. Um, so, good, bad, in between, lonely ones. Ashton and Laudna have a nice interaction, interesting
Oh my gosh.
interaction. Ask where they come from or where they came from. Um, you know, people who made them who they are. He says he hates them a little and his jealousy. Um, he's been really alone, but Laudna does understand being alone. They both died and they now struggle with the debt of being saved. Um, Ashton also worked for a terrible person to help people who left them behind. And then, what was it like for Laudna to wake up and have everybody there? And she said it was a great feeling because it wasn't like that before for her, which I thought was really, really poignant. Um, Laudna asks about the Hishari helmet, and Ashton has very little memory of what happened before the orphanage, and people might have been his parents, the accident, all this other stuff going on. He was in a desert, had no idea how he got there, I keep saying he, but they. The word Hishari stuck in his head, and he saw it for the first time in the museum with that suit of armor. That word is why they're here. Ashton heard Orm say Ashari, and he thought he remembered it wrong, which is really interesting. I think like that is the connection that he made. Um,
Right.
Ashton hoped that if they helped the others, then the others would help him or them. But now he likes them all, and Laudna hopes that they can help him figure out and encourages him to talk to Orm. Ashton isn't willing to spend these last few days talking about the past. So it's like this whole thing. They're getting drunk this whole time
Yeah.
and just kind of chatting throughout this whole deal. Let me just see. Yeah, let's go through the travel montage and then we'll go to the chat just so that we can
Oh
kind of
my
keep it going.
gosh.
For the next few days, they go through fair weather, the aurora. They message Pike, let her know about Predathos. Really funny watching Matt roleplay Pike in front of Ashley again. Imogen messages Gianna Hexam, tells them to give her name to Eunice, a supplies dealer. Ashton studies the physics of the ship, and Fern tries to learn how to steer the ship. Imogen messages Nana. She's recovering, likely from that battle that she had. FCG messages Dancer. This is interesting. I definitely want to come back to this. But messages Dancer, who doesn't respond, and then messages D, the merchant who sold them. D's gift to FCG is a return to their own path. D pulled him from the wreckage, and that the future is his to make. There are more of them, and more to come. The next day, there is a massive dust storm in which blows the ship off course. They're having a lot of bad luck with this whole dust storm thing.
Oh yeah.
They lose a day. Orem messages Dorian, who can see the ley lines and would enjoy it if things weren't so tense. Imogen and FCG message Ira and Birdie. So a lot of stuff just happened there from the conversation with Ashton and
Yeah.
Laudna to the travel montage. Let's head over to the chat and talk it out.
Yeah. And so like right now they're on their way to the Callaway Hideaway to meet up with Ira and the Callaways.
Yep.
That's like their first stop, I guess, on their way towards the Hellcatch Valley where they're all gathering at the key for the apogee solstice.
Yep.
So it's really interesting. It's a lot of downtime on the ship, you know.
Yep.
So they're doing a lot of thinking and scheming and trying to figure out who they can talk to, and then there's this crazy conversation with Laudna and Ashton, where Ashton he's just, you could tell he's bitter and he's angry
Yeah.
and doesn't like, I think, the fact that um he sees, or they see, like, warmth, I think, in other, most of the group, and they've struggled themselves, like they've never had an easy life, and so I think that they're frustrated with that, and which is where he's like, or they're like, I hate them all, but then I love them too, because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
softening him up some, because they've been there for them too, the group has been
Yeah.
there for Ashton, and they can't help what happened to them beforehand, but going
Yeah.
forward, they've been incredibly loyal and they've tried their best to um, work with them. So I think they're softening him up a little bit, and there's still some mystery there as to the past, and especially like all the probabilities that we kind of saw them go through with all that flashback through their brain and stuff of all the different routes that Ashton could have taken over a lifetime. So
Oh man. Yeah.
yeah, but
Again,
it was a
makes you
cool
wonder
conversation.
if that's similar to like the possibilities of like life
Yeah,
without with the gods or whatever, that whole with the
right.
demomancy and everything else.
But
So
just even having that in the past episode shows how many of those there can be, and how you could
yeah.
take one of them and totally blow it way, just use it for your purpose, which is
Totally.
what, there's got to be something. The whole time that whole scene was happening with Imogen in the dream, I was like, where did she even get this image from, though? I mean, like, where'd she get this, like, video in her head of the future? Like, how does
Yep.
anybody know what it's going to be like? Nobody
Well,
knows.
and Imogen makes a good point that it could be that was like the brainwashing that was done, right? Like to paint that picture, which is
100%.
true. So another thing that happened, like right after the whole Ashton Laudna conversation, a little bit later, um, SCG contacting D.
Yes.
So I'm sure this is not the only. I'm not the only person to think this. Maybe you already said it before. Are we? Is it not just eerily similar, the voice he's doing for D and the Aormaton from Campaign 2 that they awakened? Because that was Charlie, right? But then
Yeah.
when they fixed him, his name, I'm almost positive, I have to go back and look, started with D. It was a D name. Like, oh man, it's killing me. William, if you know in the chat, I don't have
It
anything to, well, I
probably
could do
is.
it
You're
here, but I'm
probably right.
managing.
Yeah.
And because I think what he said in Campaign 2 was, I'm going to try to go help my friends, my others, right? And so what if that's his way? He was like trying to put them out into the world and like put them with people that knew something about how to fix things and like try to spread it, not knowing that he was one of those pre-programmed, bots that were supposed to go do something else. But like, this is it. Devaxin. So yeah, so to me it's eerily and only because Mercer's such a genius when he comes to voices, and he always hits the same voice for the same person. He never screws up. Like if you go talk to Imahara Joe, you're hearing that voice. If you go talk to somebody, like, so the fact that those voices were just really close to me says something. So
Yeah.
I really think that might be, maybe this is like a common thing in the community. So if you're watching this later, also put comments in the video because I don't know, it just, to me it just popped up that was something. But
Yeah.
also like maybe he's also trying to put these out into the world um, at some level. So yeah. Anyway, it just popped in
Well,
my
and
brain while we were looking through it.
he didn't seem surprised. He's just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hey, glad you're doing all right." Like there's going to be more to
Yeah.
come. It wasn't very there wasn't surprise, there wasn't like, "Oh, there wasn't secrecy." It was very,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Hey man." So I think
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
probably right. It probably is the same Aormaton or,
And what's funny is, like, I don't know, maybe they knew it, like maybe the players knew it,
yeah,
but the characters didn't, so they didn't say anything about it. Like,
right.
sometimes they'll say, "Oh, this is," like when they came across Plane Rider Rin, or like they
Right.
said, "Oh, I," but like I don't know if they said. I can't remember them saying anything. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Um, all right, you want to keep going, or we got anything else on that section?
There wasn't anything else that I had
Yeah, me either. Let's jump in
jumping out.
because a lot of this stuff, like, yeah, sorry,
Well,
Ron.
okay, we didn't talk about the whole thing with Opal. I missed something
Yeah, please.
somewhere. We didn't finish EXU. We did watch Calamity with Brendan Lee Mulligan, but we kind of got bogged down with the whole Fern and Opal and Orum's first go round with EXU. So we
Yep.
watched some of it, but we didn't finish all of it. It's probably the only thing that we haven't extensively watched in recent
So
times.
there,
But like,
I think
what
we
has
watched
happened?
the
Was it
EXU,
the
the
little
first one with the
crown thing?
Bria. Yeah, yes, it was tied with the crown. But the thing that we didn't watch was when they returned to do the follow up, and I think more stuff happened. But yeah, the crown happened. It was one of the vestiges. It was a Spider Queen vestige.
Oh, and that's the
Um,
thing they found on the boat in that crate, right? That was
yep,
like exuding. You didn't want to put it on or touch it with your hands or what. So Opal's wearing
yep.
it now,
The
and
more you have it, the more you know. So yeah, yeah. So oh, William too. I'm just gonna pop it on this screen. They knew.
about
um,
Davion,
100% the cast
Davion.
knew. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good about yeah, the vaccine. Great. Okay, so let's jump through. So they finally arrive in Bassaris and go to the Callaway layaway. Um, Ira's working on this telescope and is eager to mess up the Melius key. Um, he was connected or contacted by Ludinus to design the first key and basically fired after a while. And he wanted to destroy what they built. And then when they
He's
kind of tell
pissed.
him he that hey, look, we took out the other one, he's kind of like, oh, at first he's a little taken back, but then he's like, okay, great. So he said that he helped the Callaways take the Moontide Crown. He's been keeping an eye on the Malleus key. He's got this other sort of device that you can look through it like a telescope, but it actually looks down. It's this sort of arcane thing where you can see what's going on. And yeah, so they show the Malleus key in the ruins to FCG. They can see the tents of the Paragon's Call Crawlers. Say that 10 times fast. He sees a large modern day automaton that's inspired by the earlier design. So I think you were right when we talked about that last time. And then within the pit, people are hammering things to the outside of the spire. The tower lights, the view vanishes, and apparently the spire emits this burst of anti-magic every single minute on the minute. And Ira thinks this is so they could overload the spire. And they move the arcane power core underground, but they still have to be tethered to the key in some way. So he needs to see everything more closely. So Fern mentions Prodathos, but Ira doesn't know who it is, or at least seems like he doesn't know. We'll know
Yes.
for sure later, I guess. So so let's back over to the chat. So what are we thinking so far about all that?
So obviously, this telescope thing is the same thing that they all looked through to see um, the moon, with the green lens when they first were there, and
Yep.
saw we met Fern's parents the first time. And he's back again with them. And we find that, I guess, I thought that they were working opposite of each other, meaning our group was trying to mess up what he was doing, when in
I thought that too.
reality we find they're really doing the same stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know if they're doing what they're doing like they're building similar things, right? But doing it for maybe different reasons. I don't
Well,
know. Like I don't know why he'd be commissioned to build it unless they're just agents of chaos and want to, do like why turn that much against them? If you're Ira, I just don't understand like the 100% turn on them.
yeah.
Like
Well, I
it's
mean,
weird to me.
Matt, like, he tried to make it seem like it was because he got too curious, he wanted to know too much, and then Ludinus fired him once the first one in the Fey realm was almost completed. And that is what angered him enough, made him so angry that he decided that if he couldn't work on it, then he was going to try to mess up every single thing that they tried to do.
Yeah.
Um, but that just seems too easy of an answer for this Fey being to just be running around just because he's a little petty. I think he knows more. I think he is super chaotic. I think that he has his own reasons. I think that I don't at all trust that person, man, entity, fae, whatever you want to call him. He has his own reasons for what he's doing.
Yeah.
And right now the group fits in his reasons. He wants to get where they're going. I just don't know if his end to the meat, like what he ends up wanting to do, is gonna hinder them or help them, really.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And it's sort of like this X factor that you hope they're on your side, but I mean, it's not like they even end up bringing him on the ship. It's not like he's
Yeah,
just on the side. Like,
that's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
let's move.
They
Yeah,
transport him there, like
yeah,
he uses them. They think he's helping them, is what I think is happening. Is
yeah.
they
It's not like
really
he
think
jumped
he's
in to
coming
help with
along
any
to
of the
help
stuff.
them, but I think it really is working in his favor. Whatever it is his
Yeah.
plan is, he wants to get there, and he knows they're the quickest way to get there. So,
Yes. Yep. All right. Well,
we'll see.
let's. There we go.
I don't believe for 1 second that he was working on this thing in the Fey realm without a clue as to why he was working on it.
It's really, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. All right. Yeah. Oh, let me. I know I shifted screens, but let me bring this in. Normally, I can tell where a story is going, but with Matt, I have no idea. Yeah, there's some times where, like, a lot of times I can get it too, but there's some other times where I'm not sure. But I guess the other thing to always kind of remember is D&D, right? Like, you never know how people are going to end up playing. Like, what you have in mind for the game changes as the players do their thing. So it's always a living, breathing thing, as we
Well,
saw with all the
yeah.
other campaigns too.
And
So
in the grand scheme of things, as the story has gone on, originally, once the moon was imposing into the Fey realm, the Fey were using it to garner favors
yep.
from the what were the entities called? The Rashan or the
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that might be it. He might want to use the power for himself in some way, like maybe he wants to become more powerful, or maybe he wants to kind of
Yeah.
shift. Who knows? But I he's got something else going on. He's not at all concerned about, I think,
Yeah.
what the real
It,
issue is.
it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, so let's move through backroom items. We won't spend a ton of time on this unless you want to, because a lot of this is shopping. It's really good. It worked out really well for them, but They go in, they have the agent, they give a little bit of the wink wink, this is I'm on the same team. They're able to get into the back
Yeah.
room. Nice scene there. They pool their money, they buy some stuff, which worked out really well for them. So um, Imogen does wonder if she should tell someone in Vasselheim about the Ruby Vanguard, but they would need proof. The Grim Verity has accepted or has attempted to tell them before, but they were turned away by all that. They go to the ship with Ira, like we talked about, the arcane bomb, and their crawler, which is interesting that they're putting the crawler on the ship too. Laudna takes the amulet, Imogen takes the circlet, Ashton takes the belt. Amulet just is the amulet of health. The circlet is the hidden eye, which makes immune to mind reading, which is great for Imogen. And
Yeah.
then the belt of momentum. So like you're basically a human battering ram. So really good things. So they return to the sky. There's another dust storm triggered by the ley lines, and then lightning strikes the ship. Xandus has to land. They lose a day, but then they fix the ship and return to flying. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, let's see how many sections we got
Oh
left.
my gosh, the
So,
cat's
no,
going
okay,
crazy.
yeah. So, yep, I can hear Romeo doing his thing. All right, so let's pause there for a second. Let's do Hope Blooms, and then we'll pause there. Anything that we want to like really touch on, we'll jump over to the chat if there's anything in this section so far. It was mainly the
I
shopping
mean,
stuff, and then
yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
think that the items that they got were super cool, especially the necklace and the circlet. Like super amazing items.
totally, yeah.
Um,
It's also I love the fact that there's a way, again, DM hat on. I love having a way of making it work in the game to be able to, because D&D in a large part is about magic items too, right? Like I mean, whether you have a low magic world or a high magic world, whatever, people like playing the game. You like to fight monsters, you like to get stuff at some level. I know that this is a way more complex thing, but like at the basic level of the game, everybody loves that. And so um, when you're not doing a traditional dungeon crawl, like where every game is going through a dungeon and finding something, but you're getting a bunch of gold, not being able to spend your gold to get cool magic stuff is kind of a killjoy. Like you want to at least be able to do something, because the way his campaigns have gone is you need some of those magical items to buff your characters enough to accomplish these big world bending tasks. And they're getting to those mid levels, right? Like they're getting like 8-ish level or something like that. So these are things that really will help them. And I think that this is sort of like you have to you know you have to give them a way to have this happen. And I love the fact that they work it into the story, like this underground, like roguish element that they can
oh
contact,
yeah.
and there's like a hidden cache of weapons and
Mm-hmm.
armor and all kinds of stuff. So let's see, Williams also says I think that sketch, it's like a video game giving you items before things get crazy. No, I get that, I think if Matt would have just put that there and made it like too obviously available, it would have been one thing. I think the fact that Ashton was using his resources, like his character's backstory resources, to do that. It's sort of like in campaign 2, where Ford's backstory let him, whenever he would go into a town where there was a ship, where they could have safe passage, because the sailor background does that. I think there's something around Ashton's backstory that gives him something to connect with the underworld and make those connections. And they still had to pay for it. It wasn't like they just
Oh
got it for
yeah. He
free.
didn't
So,
make it
but
cheap.
no, I
It
totally
was
get it.
super
It's
expensive.
not. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's not too. So I forgive the whole. I get what you're saying though, like ramping it up before the big stuff. But I don't know how much that's going to help them. You know, in total, but we'll see. But great point. Okay, let's jump back over to the. Let's see. Yeah, he's hiding the end of this very well. Great point. Okay.
I think Predathus is going to be let loose. That's
I
my
have this
prediction.
idea based on what you said. So I want to get there, but I just thought I want to. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things going on. So, okay, hope blooms. Another dust storm kicks up, and then there's this strange fiery bird.
Oh God.
For, kills me. Fern polymorphs the bird into a goldfish. This group and goldfish. Let me tell you, we already had Keyfish in campaign 1 with the goldfish fiasco, jumping off a cliff, turning into a goldfish, and then dying and needing to be like not understand and quoting, we're basically gods. Yeah. So like after that whole thing happened, like for Ashley to say I choose a goldfish, like I was cringing inside, and like Travis had to get up and walk away from the table. It was so funny to me
I
that
was
that
yelling
was
at
there.
TV.
Yeah,
I
and the
was like,
fact that
"Oh my
like
God, Ashley, why,
yeah,
why?"
yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. So anyway, they're able to kind of make it work. Orem feels a pulse from inside the seed that he got way back in the what do we Exandria Unlimited stuff, right? They cast Identify. It's a message bloom, and they plant it. It grows, and it is a message from Keyleth, which is very interesting, and tells him that the Ashari fought the cult of the Darkheart beneath Terra, and the Darkheart behemoth was dealt with, and the rift is healed. But when she attempted to apprehend the head of the Ashari betrayers, Vario, he vanished and shouted that the vanguard would prevail. Interesting. Their paths are coming together, and Keyleth wants to join them with the Ashari, taking down the vanguard. Keyleth's message sends a wave of relief through the party. Cavalry is coming. Imogen messages Keyleth, giving her directions. The next day, the weather is dangerous. Silver Sun sails without issue. Um, and then the evening, Imogen asks Orem if the moon, and thus his tattoo, ever feels tainted, because now he knows more about it. He says no, because it's him and his husband, and the moon has been around for a long time, and things have happened under the moon that have not been rendered meaningless. And if anything, Orem feels that he was meant to be here now, and Imogen is grateful for whatever brought them together. I think that's a really good sentiment of like, how to kind of put things in a good frame of mind coming into what they're going through. So let's head back over to chat. So what are your thoughts on
I
all that
mean,
stuff?
first of
Yes,
all,
Kiki is coming. Yes.
yes. First of all, a
Yes.
freaking phoenix that's like a massive. They were rolling
Yeah,
so bad for this
it was
journey.
bad.
Like I was about to say they aren't gonna make it even for the
Yeah.
solstice on time. So this
That's the nature
bird
of the
shows
dice.
up. This bird shows up. They try a couple of things. Thankfully, they never really had to get fully into engagement with it because they threw a couple things at it. I mean, Imogen threw lightning. I mean,
It
come
was not
on.
going to be good for them.
Lightning
No.
for a firebird. I mean,
Uh, Yeah.
so then when Ashley's like, polymorph, and I already was like, oh no, Ashley, she really does come up with cool animals for her druid to change into sometimes, but when she polymorphs things, it's usually not the
Yeah.
best idea,
Well, and
really.
it's like
It's like, oh no. Oh no.
yeah.
So when she said a goldfish, I was like, oh.
I love how Matt made the goldfish catch the wind and fly away though,
Yeah.
because like
Thank
it was
goodness.
almost this tongue-in-cheek way of saying I'm tired of the goldfish. I'm blowing this away. like
Oh.
that was pretty good. Yeah. So let me check chat. So yeah, Percy could be coming as well as the rest of Vox Machina. Absolutely, they could be.
Well, I
Um,
definitely think that Vexalia should be coming because Vaxildan is the champion of the Raven Queen. So she doesn't want anything to happen to the Raven Queen, because if the Raven Queen goes away, then there'll never be any interaction. Like her brother would just be dead.
Well, I mean, he kind of is. I mean,
I understand that, but she's been able to have some interaction with him because of him being the champion.
yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, through like sort of the
He
bird
was able to
showing
come to their
up, and
wedding, like
yeah, yeah. Well, that was because of the wish spell.
right.
Because someone was able to just Scanlan would cast wish at the wedding to let that happen. But yeah, you're right. Like, who knows if anything else would like that would even be possible in the future. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, completely. It's really interesting. It is possible that the rest, and I know this is probably controversial for Vox Machina to show up. It was controversial enough to have them in the episodes that they were in. Like, to have them in action altogether is a whole nother thing, and I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Yeah, Scanlan, right? It was the one that cast Wish. So yeah, I'm really I'm really interested to see how it plays out. Let me,
Yeah.
if it's okay, I want to jump to the rest of this and we can kind of chat about it in totality because we're almost done with um, the last bit of this because I don't want to jump too far ahead until I've got all the information covered. So, backward hope looms. I think better halves. Yep. So, okay. Imogen talks to Laudna, and they have this whole conversation about whether they want to stop Prodathos. This is kind of what we hinted out before. Laudna understands the appeal of change, but the unknown makes her nervous. And they could lose so much at the cost of what might be perceived freedom. They could have a chance for a normal life just with, not doing any of this stuff. And so Imogen has a choice, and it's as much of a power as her magic, just that choice in itself. And so she tries to help her friend understand, not let them get into your head. Laudna feels comfortable with them, even though they haven't really talked about things. Yep. Yeah, so then they were trying to show Imogen that normalcy would make her happy, but she realizes that weirdness is what makes them right. If better halves make a better whole, then as it says in that locket of her mother's, then they have to love it all. They have to be happy with all of it. And Laudna is happy that she is Imogen's better half. So they kind of, are there. They're together for the night, cuddle up, go to sleep. There's a gentle storm in the morning, and then today is the apogee solstice. So that's where they kind of leave
Yeah.
off. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so let's see. Matt could just describe the members as far as like if all that's absolutely true. Um, I don't know. Like part of me is thinking it would be a little bit of a like a missed opportunity. So I've got two feelings about this. Okay, one, if they do have this big battle, if it was me running the game, and I am not Matt Mercer, but I've done weirder things with campaigns in the past, I might say, for this game session, I'd like you to pull out the sheets underneath your chair. And it's their old sheet. And they play as their old characters doing a section of the mission. Then, the next game, okay, you're back to your whatever. So that they actually could play their own characters and then they merge those two things together. That would be really interesting. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it would be very complex to do. It's easy to do at just a regular table game. Harder to do when you're a television show on top of it or a streaming show on top of it, right? So, but it is still D&D, so it could happen, and it would be interesting. And also, the other side of that is he's already played those characters as NPCs already, even in this past game. So I don't know. What do you think about the whole concept of the two different parties coming together a little bit?
Um, I think that I think that Matt will play them. Um, I don't necessarily think that the players will get a chance to revise their old characters, simply because I think it helps the congruency of the story that Matt wants to tell. Um, and I think it would grow however many episodes this next fight or this next thing is going to be exponentially. If you're bouncing back and forth, it's a lot more role play, it's a lot more time, it's a lot more decision making that has to happen, and then people switching back and forth between, like, sometimes I feel like we just need to know this character really well before we try to play anything else.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah.
So I think Matt will play them.
You're
But
probably right.
I
It's
mean,
probably way too
who
far fetched
knows?
for my idea. So, yeah. Okay. Here's
Your
the
way
other
is
thing.
cool. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
it would be cool, but I don't know. I don't think it's probable. But here is the thing that I keep thinking back to what you said for the last two shows. That Mercer said the gloves were coming off. Okay. I think uh we what he like, because you said, well, they've kind of been, it's been easy on them. I think now is the time where gloves are coming off, but I don't think it's necessarily just about the gloves coming off for these characters. Some of them might die, some of them might not. Like, I'm not discounting any of that for the current story. I think the gloves are coming off because and things are going to be shaken up because this is going to be a new phase in the history of Exandria. I think this is going to be like a second calamity, and then you're going to have another period of time. And so this may be like the kicking off point of another calamity era event. And so even if this campaign ends within, I don't know, however many shows they've got left, and maybe they get to level 15 or 20, whatever they do, I think their next set of characters are still going to be in the ramifications of this era.
Yeah.
They're going to be in this new calamity 2, whatever you want to call it. The Prodathos era, maybe. It's going to be really. That's what I think. That's what I genuinely feel. It could go that route, and maybe they can do something to change it. But their current characters are not like high level characters yet. Um,
Mm-mm.
they're having to get help from a lot of other high level people, and so it feels as if this is just like the beginning of something.
Yes. That's why I really think Predathos is going to be let loose. Now, whether it's in the full form and mean and way that Ludinus wants it to happen, who knows? Maybe the group can offset. Maybe the group can set in some, boundaries, or I don't know, like some protections. But it's so last minute. They're only level 8. They don't really know any of these people who are helping them, really, character wise, nor have they worked with them before. They've got Chaos King over here with the Nightmare guy, and that's the whole Fey realm is tied in. And then, it just really feels like this. Like, I saw something the other day where somebody was saying, well, what if this is the end? I was like, I don't, like, this can't be the end. This feels like a beginning. It feels like this is the story just starting. I feel like we had a huge intro to this thing
Maybe
happening.
so, yeah. And I look at it both ways. Maybe this isn't the end, and it's the beginning for these characters. But maybe it is the end of this group, but it's not the end of the story. The story is about more than this. Maybe some survive and some don't, and it continues on in a different way. I feel
Right,
like,
right.
there's a lot of like world shaping things, like and I know Matt was also influenced by some of the same stuff I was influenced by when we were playing D&D and reading stuff growing up. We come from around the same era. I'm a little bit older than him, but we have the same influences in what we read and stuff. So what kind of reminds me of, and I see it in his world too, is in the Dragonlance in Dragonlance there was the Cataclysm that happened, the War of the Lance. They had all this other stuff. They had, similar the Calamity, right? And in Dragonlance, after a certain period of time, the gods left, and there were no more clerics. No one could tap into the power. There weren't, and then the big story that started the whole Dragonlance series with Dragons of Autumn Twilight was when a true cleric showed up. One on the whole world, one true gold moon showed up, and she had the ability to heal somebody. And it was like, that was mind bending, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, because things had been changed that long. I don't think it's going to be that drastic, but I think like when you go from periods of like, I don't think it's an accident that we got to see the Calamity. You know what I mean? Like that we got to see what it was like at the height of power, and then it all
Right.
fall, and then like see how things have like pulled back up again. Yeah. It may just fall again. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. So yeah. So William says, I feel the next campaign will be actual gods in the end of the game. Yeah, no kidding. And then, excuse me. Yeah, we're gonna have our hearts broken. I agree. It's going to be heartbreaking depending on how
some of my predictions, and I hope that I'm wrong, but some of my predictions are, I think some of Vox Machina is going to die. Percy and Vax have had their children. Wait, yeah, Vex. Sorry, Percy and Vax have had their kids. Keyleth, she's the leader and she's super powerful, so I can see Keyleth surviving, especially once they had that one-on-one and she could not be killed as her true like druid like ultimate form.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty tough. So yeah. she's like, arch druid at this point. So I could see her surviving. I could definitely see, like I said, Percy and Vex, one or both not. I don't know about Pike. And we didn't get to see Grog. We haven't seen Grog or Scanlan, or really kind of heard from them or for anything. So it would surprise me if they showed up, but maybe they will. But I feel like our hearts are going to be broken because I think some of the old characters are going to die, and maybe some of the new ones will.
That's a really great point. I didn't even think about the old, but yeah, some of Vox Machina might not make it, depending on who shows. Yeah, really, really interesting.
I mean, how poetic would it be for Vexalia to be like ushered away by her brother?
But also not to put too fine a point on this either, but what are the ramifications for Caleb Widogast, who's also now he's got to be knowing stuff's going on. He's a powerful enough mage. I don't know where the timelines match up. Does he know what's happening? Because this is around the same. It's not that much farther from that timeline, right? So it's going to be
right.
Whew. Ooh,
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm scared to click on this one.
I hope it won't be a TPK.
I think it's going to be a TPK.
I am hoping. I'm hoping it won't.
It would be. Listen, I want to come on record on video. I do not want it to happen. I don't want it to happen one bit. But it would be epic if it did. It would be epic. I don't want it to happen, but it would be epic. And because here's the thing, I don't think it would be forced. Matt's not, for as much as crazy people have been saying, well, it's all written, it's all planned ahead. No, he's playing D&D. Which is why you can have Keyleth in campaign 1 jump off a mountain, turn into a coldfish, and die. He lets things play out the way they play out. So if it turns out this way, it can. But but I think maybe Chet survives, but maybe. I don't know. I don't want it to happen. I agree. I know you don't either. Most of us don't. We don't.
And I think you were even saying you think ultimately Imogen, you're feeling like Imogen's gonna just implode.
Yeah, that's I can't believe thank you for reminding me. That's the other thing. I
Yeah.
totally think that that could be the factor, right? Like that could be the thing that flips the switch is if she goes to her mom's side and you know I I tell you what, like the fact that she now has that magic item may have just saved that.
Yeah.
Like because now there can't be that maybe that connection, that thought.
I
I mean, I
mean,
think they have to roll to get it, but it's possible that it
right.
still
But
happens, right?
literally, Laudna gets Constitution up 19, and Imogen gets the necklace or circlet that keeps people from being able to infiltrate and talk to her telepathically and whatnot. And in that last conversation they had, Imogen literally told Laudna that she's her tether. She is her
Yeah.
tether. And we saw what happened when Laudna got killed the last time.
So you're saying if
So,
Laudna goes, if
if
Laudna
Laudna,
goes,
yeah, if
then
Laudna,
Imogen's
so
gone.
I think Laudna is a pivotal point for Imogen, and I think if Imogen can't be gotten to by regular means or coerced by regular means, Laudna has been like Odahan knows.
Yeah.
Laudna is could be a catalyst for Imogen. And Imogen
Yeah.
doesn't even
I
have
agree.
to turn bad. All she's got to do is blow up. Like
That's right. Yeah, like it could be that you're right. She could be the bomb, right? Like not knowing, how to contain it. It's really interesting. She's always got that wild magic piece to it too. So I don't know. Lots going on. I'm really excited for
oh, next
seeing how
episode.
this whole
Oh,
solstice actually plays out. It's off this week, and then they come back next week. I
not
think,
sure.
right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But either way, we'll be back once they're back, and we'll jump in. William, thanks for hanging out with us in the
Thanks,
chat, and
William.
anybody else that stopped by that I didn't see, we appreciate it. Also, again, we'll be back after their next show. So if they don't, so that means we probably won't have one of these next week if they're off. But
Right.
we will be back right after that, and
We'll see if
make sure
any of
that
our
you.
predictions.
That's right. Yeah, let's see if there's any additional predictions. If you have any other thoughts, once this saves, you can also put them in the video comments to make sure that we catch anything that you might be thinking helps with this. So, yeah. So, there's a version of Fern being in the center. Yeah, Fern could be in the center. Yep. Oh, very welcome. Thank you, William. So yeah. All right. Well, we'll sign off for tonight. Looking forward to next time, and we'll see you in the cafe.